you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Cynthia. Happy Monday. Happy winter solstice. If you didn't know, December 21st marks, the first day of winter and winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year, longest night of the year. So the sun is probably going to be setting within the next 20 minutes. It's actually not around. It's exactly 4 o'clock here, California time. And the sun is already setting. My moods are shifting. My energy shifting. I also took this time, since this winter solstice is especially close. I don't know if you guys heard or not, that Jupiter and Saturn are coming super, super close in contact. And they haven't been this close in contact in literally hundreds of years. And I think the next one won't happen until 2080. So, some of us may still be around. Some of us may not. And during this time of Saturn and Jupiter, kind of realigning and basically touching each other, it marks a new era. Not to get too spiritual guru on you right now, but we're entering for the new age, the new era of Aquarius, which in that sign, it's about awakening and enlightenment and things of that nature. So I really believe we are going through a major shift, especially with, everything we have endured as, a society due to the COVID, coronavirus pandemic. And I don't know about you guys, but this year has taken such a huge toll on my mental health. I have never been tested mentally like this ever before. If you're a new listener, quite a few months ago, I explained to my listeners here that, I suffered when the pandemic hit in March here in the U.S. I suffered a major panic attack at my house. And then I, have been dealing with anxiety issues ever since. And I used to never have any sort of mental issues like this, to the point where it distracts me from the daily tasks sometimes of what I need to do. Sometimes my anxiety gets in the way of my productivity. And I don't know. I know, my friends out there who also deal with anxiety, you kind of understand where, I'm coming from. But yeah, I just think we're entering a huge shift right now, huge shift of awakening, realigning. This year definitely was the wake up year for me. I think all of us woke up as a society, and, we're demanding changes, and people were voicing, for change. And it's just, 2020, man. I honestly need to go to therapy after this year, because it took, I know it challenged us all mentally and, emotionally. Some of us even physically were dealing, with if we got COVID and tested positive. So just hugs and blessings to you all. Set intentions for this new year today. Just manifest good outcomes, good possibilities. That's exactly what I'm manifesting to and what I'm setting my intention on, for us to stay healthy, to remain healthy. And, hopefully 2021, the year, we're able to go back to normal or better than normal, without the virus hanging around. So anyway, I know I went on a long tangent right now. Like I said, I'm sorry if I sound like a weird spiritual guru. For all of you who really enjoy astronomy and all that, you're welcome. But if you have anything else to add to this conversation about the winter solstice and, everything what I just talked about, definitely leave a comment right now, because I would love to hear from you. And shifting gears slightly, we're going to kind of be talking a lot about, winter fatigue, Zoom fatigue even. It's going to be a combination of different things today, but specifically, how to beat Zoom fatigue and how you are able to connect with others, and it doesn't have to be in a virtual setting. We're going to talk about loneliness and COVID-19 and, different ways to cope when you're cooped up during lockdown and winter. Winter time is usually when, most of us, a lot, or not most, but, a lot of people deal with seasonal depression. Seasonal depression is a real thing, y'all. I think I dedicated an episode already to talking about this. So if you haven't listened to that already, definitely check it out. But let's just jump right into it. We have so much to cover, and I'm so excited to talk about this topic because, again, this is something that I personally deal with, and I'm going to share with you guys different ways that I cope and deal with, feeling fatigue. Not so much Zoom fatigue because I'm a fitness trainer, so I'm still meeting in person to teach classes. But I'm definitely, just as far as mental health, COVID pandemic, and then seasonal depression, winter, all in one. So it's going to be just a mixture of things. It's mainly just about your mental health, okay? Maintaining social connections is important for mental and emotional health, right? We, as human beings, we are a very... we crave attention, okay? As much as someone claims they're a loner, as much as someone claims they don't like people or whatever, everyone to some degree needs connection. If not, we just literally would not live. We just couldn't. We depend on each other. As much as we'd like to or not, we depend on each other. And many people have turned to video chat outlets such as Zoom or House Party to stay connected during COVID-19 restrictions. We're months, almost a year into the pandemic. And some people, are experiencing Zoom fatigue, which is due to a number of reasons, including social anxiety, feeling taxed from video chats at work, or numerous technical glitches that make online social interactions less fulfilling. With the continued spike in U.S. COVID-19 cases, this winter and increasingly restrictive measures that many states are taking, more time is being spent at home, distance from our friends and loved ones. And I know it's tough because it's the holidays. You feel me? The holidays are meant for us to spend time with our loved ones, with our family, with the people that you love and care for. And I know there's just so much going on, and there's just a lot of information out there, and, some people believe in it, some people don't, and it's just, our mental is out of whack, I think, all of us. And by now, we all know the importance of maintaining social connections for our mental health amid the ongoing pandemic. For many, that means Zoom happy hours and house party hangouts. But several months into the pandemic, you may be suffering from Zoom fatigue. And experts say there's a number of reasons for that. For starters, many of us are in video meetings for work throughout the day. So the idea of using it for socializing may not be appealing. And this is what Nita Gould, PhD, clinical psychologist, and director of the mindfulness program at Johns Hopkins Medicine had to say. And that's absolutely true. My sister has been remote since March, since the beginning of the pandemic, since the beginning of the shutdown. My sister has worked from her home every single day, Monday through Friday, since March. And I can see that she's fatigued. Like, literally after just being she's just in one day, like, she's on her phone doing Zoom calls. She's on her computer all day, for like 8 hours. And I can't even imagine how tiring that must be. And like, I can't even handle being on the computer more than like 2 hours. Like, I start getting a headache, all this blue light coming in, like, it's just distracting me. So Zoom fatigue is a thing, you guys. And there's also the unexpected, technical glitches that cause conversations to lag, and the uncomfortable feedback of looking at yourself while speaking that can make video calls uncomfortable, especially for people with, social anxiety. So there's just like so many factors that play into us being super remote right now that I think we didn't really like take into account, And what's more, we lose much of the interpersonal interactions we have when we see people in person. Julian Holt-Lundstad, PhD, professor of psychology and neuroscience at Brigham Young University, says that as humans, we're adapted to read social cues, right? And throughout history, humans have had to read others' emotions and nonverbal cues to help us predict our environment and better navigate the world. And those things are much harder to do over Zoom. And we can't really read body language, and even some of the facial cues may be more difficult to read, especially with us wearing, face masks now everywhere. Like, literally, I don't know what, I don't really know what people look like. All I see are eyes, right? So I feel like as long as my eyebrows and my lashes are done, then like that's all that matters. So there's pros and cons to this, y'all. Like, I only have to do like half my makeup, my forehead up, or I just like don't even wear makeup when I'm out in public because my face is under a mask basically the whole time. So there's definitely, some light in this whole situation, this whole pandemic. But definitely face masks have made it harder to, read those nonverbal social cues, because you don't really realize we read each other's lips a lot, or at least I hella read people's lips, I realized, and I depended on reading people's, oh my God, I can't speak. I depended on watching people's lips move when they spoke because I'm not that great, my hearing's not the best. So I would rely on like what their mouth or how their mouth would move, what they were saying, and that helped me understand better what they were communicating with me. I hope that made sense. I didn't even make sense right now. Anyway, this difficulty of us not being able to read nonverbal cues, body language, all that, this can lead to stilted conversations and feelings of awkwardness for anyone, and can be downright torturous for those with social anxiety. But fear not, y'all. If Zoom chats aren't your thing, right here I have 6 other ways to stay connected with others during these, crazy COVID restrictions. So let me go ahead and begin with the first one, which is to start a virtual book club. Yes, that sounds cute and all, so count me in. Ask a friend or several if they'd be interested in selecting a book to read at the same time and organize a discussion around it. And this can be a great tool for social connection because it gives us active and engaged, conversations. And even while reading the book leading up to the chat, it can give us a sense of purpose and like you have someone to hold you accountable for something, which is absolutely true. Like, that applies to me in like every aspect of my life. Like when I do things with people, like I know they're depending on me for that. So like I'm going to do what I need to do. Like it's going to get accomplished no matter what. So anyone, if y'all are starting a virtual book club, please reach out to me, include me. I've never been a part of a virtual book club and I would love to. That seems so fun. I love that. And while a live guided discussion via call isn't necessary, you can try an email thread or Facebook group instead if you do choose this route. And you may find it more comfortable than, like an open chat. So some structured discussions can be helpful for anyone, but especially for someone with social anxiety. It takes some of that pressure off to make small talk or come up with things to say. So that's the first way you're able to stay connected with others during COVID-19 restrictions. We're going to cut into a very brief break right now, you guys. And when we come back, more at the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hey guys, welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So we were just talking about 6 different ways, I shared with you one way to stay connected with others during, these COVID restrictions, which is to start a virtual book club, which I think that's actually a really, really good idea. I'm going to try and do this with my friends, but we shall see. That's like a really cute idea. I love that, actually. Second way you are able to stay connected with others is to get active together, okay? If you belong to a gym that offers virtual classes, sign up for one with your regular gym buddy or try a workout class on YouTube with a friend. From yoga to dance, you can alternate who chooses the class each time. And not only will having another person to work out with hold you accountable to your fitness goals, you'll get an endorphin boost from the physical activity and spending time with someone you care about. Like, it literally makes you happier, you guys. And additionally, social fitness apps like Strava, Fitbit, MyZone, which is what I have, MyZone, these apps allow you to connect with friends, family, and even strangers to participate in fitness challenges and offer one another encouragement as you work to meet your goals. And I love this aspect of fitness is, MyZone, what I have, is connected to a lot of the members at the gym that come to the gym that I work at. And I'm connected with them, and your workout gets posted every single time, and people, comment, give you some words of encouragement. So it is really nice. I think that's a great and amazing way to stay connected with others is through fitness, through physical activity. And even if it's not taking a virtual class or a YouTube class, meet at a park and social distance and walk in circles or something, there's ways to be active safely and socially distant if you do meet in person. I'm actually doing this with my friends on Christmas Eve morning. So Christmas Eve morning, my girls and we're going to meet at the park here by my house, and I'm going to write out a program for us for that day, a workout for us, and we're all going to do it together. It's Christmas themed, so, some of us are going to be wearing our Christmas festive PJs. Another one of us might, wear like a Santa hat. So it's going to be real cute. I wish y'all can see it, but it's a podcast. This isn't YouTube, so you can't see me. But anyways, that is another amazing, highly, highly suggest this route. This is probably one of the number one thing I'd recommend people is to get each other active, keep each other moving. I mean, the pandemic is a health issue. So why not boost your immunity naturally by going to the gym and doing this for you? All right, moving on to the next way to stay connected with others during these rough times is to cook the same recipe. Again, another really, really cute idea that I honestly did not think of. Food is such a social thing, okay? And in many cultures, meals are a social event and can really help us feel connected to one another. Like in my culture, I'm Mexican, and during Christmas time, we always make tamales and pozole. And I'm sure that's, with most Mexican families. And this really is like a cultural thing. It's a social thing. Like, we meet at my tia's house and we start helping making the masa and stuffing the tamales and everything. And so it brings people together, has people talking, sharing, these special moments. So I think cooking the same recipe is a great way to stay connected. We stay connected through food while being physically apart, also including sending photos to one another while cooking the same dish. And you can then jump on a video or phone call after your meal to discuss what you enjoyed about the dish and, potential recipe alterations. So if you are someone who enjoys cooking or baking or something, I think this is a really cute idea. And to be honest, I think all of these ideas can also be applied if you're in a long distance relationship. I'm in a long distance relationship, and all of these things that I'm mentioning can help so that relationship, stays interesting and never, you guys always have something to talk about. And I think there's also all of these ways to stay connected to your friends and family, can also be for a romantic relationship. Number 4, another way y'all can stay connected is to play a game or participate in a shared activity virtually. And my brother is actually doing this. My brother yesterday was on a Zoom call with all of our cousins. It was the NBA draft. So, or fantasy NBA. I don't know, y'all. I don't know sports like that. But he was basically building a fantasy NBA team with all my cousins. So they were picking their players. And, this is especially hard for us because we're a really tight-knit group, tight-knit family. And this is the longest we haven't seen each other, the longest we haven't interacted. That's a freaking lie. No, that's not a lie. But this definitely helps us stay connected and share moments. And if you're not into building an NBA fantasy team with your family members or whoever, there are a number of apps that allow users to play games like checkers, Scrabble, or card games virtually, but you don't have to feel limited to your smartphone. I'd recommend taking a step back and asking yourself, what is an activity you enjoy doing or would initiating, and seeing how you can mold that to this era of virtual connection. If you love doing crossword puzzles, for instance, bring someone else who may enjoy that too via a phone call or an app. If you'd like to spend time with someone in a more passive way, try hosting a virtual movie night with Teleparty. And the Google Chrome extension synchronizes video playback and adds a group chat to streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and HBO. Another really cute way to feel connected to your loved ones is to drop off a care package. This is something that my mom and her sisters do all the time, and it's really, really cute. one of my mom's sisters is our neighbor. Not like too close. Like it's like a bike ride away. Like probably like less than that, 4-minute bike ride away. And I don't know why I like choose bike ride, but I feel like a car, it literally takes like a minute or so. But anyways, they always do this. That's my whole point. My mom and her sisters like send each other care packages, like whether it's like plants, fruit, things like that. They're really cute. So that's definitely, it's a nice way to share, that you're thinking about someone as well. So whether it's donating items to a local organization that helps those in need, or dropping off a box of goodies on a friend's or loved one's step, creating a care package for someone else is a great way to feel, socially connected. It feels good for us to do nice things for others during this time, knowing that many people are really struggling as well. If the recipient is someone you know, for an extra connection boost, Good recommends including supplies for a craft that you also have at home. This way you can call each other to work on it at the same time, or do it individually and send each other photos of the completed craft afterwards. And my final suggestion here on staying socially connected to the people around you is to, try an old-fashioned phone call. Yes, I bet you guys weren't expecting me to list off this as the sixth and final way, but it's true. If a video call, Zoom type thing feels awkward or anxiety provoking, go back to basics and try a regular phone call. And if that still doesn't feel comfortable, try sending voice notes or a pre-recorded video to friends and family. I actually love doing this with my friends. Like, I send them little voice memos. There's usually, if I don't have time to type, I just start speaking and then send. So yeah, there's a really nice touch as well. And when you don't have that live and real-time factor, you can open it and respond at your leisure, and that can alleviate some pressure. No matter your medium for connection, remember that it's important to maintain connections while physically distancing and staying safe from COVID-19. We now have evidence that shows some of the very strong effects that social connection can have on our health, and much like we have to make time to be physically active, we need to prioritize our relationships for our health. So I want to hear from you guys. What are some ways, unique, creative ways that you're doing to stay socially connected to your loved ones? I would love to hear your idea, so that way others who are tuning in right now can also hear from you. So let's switch gears here slightly and talk about loneliness and COVID-19 and how pets can provide the social interaction we're missing right now. I love my pet. Let me know in the comments if you guys have a pet, dog, cat, both. My family and I, we have Louie. Louie is a 3-year-old Pug Pyrenees Husky mix. Yes, I know, that's a mouthful, that's a mutt. His dad is full Husky, and the mom was Pug Pyrenees. Very interesting combo. So basically imagine a really big pug. A really, really big pug. That was Louie's mom. And what's crazy is that Louie came out white, looking like a husky, and the mom is brown and dark colors. And anyway, let me not talk about Louie because I can literally be here all day talking about my freaking dog. But, during this pandemic, many people feel touch deprived during the pandemic. And it's actually a love language for a lot of people, especially, those in relationships who crave attention, physical interaction. So this doesn't mean sexual. Being really touchy doesn't always correlate to being a very sexual person. So just let me get those two. There's a clear divide there, okay? But during this time, it kind of goes back to what I've been saying, is that us As human beings, we're social beings, and we crave human interaction and contact. And touch is shown to improve well-being. Caring touch with animals can provide benefits similar to those of human touch. And while physical distancing can help stop the spread of COVID-19, limiting human-to-human contact also eliminates the opportunity for touch. Tiffany Field, PhD, director of the Touch Research Institute at the Leonard M. Miller School of Medicine at the University of Miami, says, "We did a survey on Facebook linked to SurveyMonkey in April during the U.S. lockdown and found that 60% of people were reporting touch deprivation." And this wasn't just people who were living alone. It was also those living with people. The survey also revealed that 32% of people reported touching their partner a lot, and 21% said they touched their kids a lot. "I was hoping if people were confined with each other, they were doing more back rubs and hugging and touching," she said. Tiffany Field attributes the use of technology for keeping people in the same living quarters from touching more often. This realization is supported by a study she conducted before the COVID-19 pandemic. While observing people at airport gates, her team discovered that social interactions were low. Only 3% of the time were people touching each other if traveling together, but 68% of the time they were on their cell phones. Social media has contributed to touch deprivation before COVID-19, and the virus has just exacerbated it since we can't hug or greet people like we used to. And I absolutely agree with Tiffany Field's statement. Like, we have become a less social group of people because of social media and the internet. And I'll get into more of this right after this commercial break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So right before we went on break, I was about to go on this pretty long tangent about, how us as a group of people, we have become less touchy because of social media. Our social interactions are low because of social media. And it's true. But I also think that in an airport setting, yes, everyone's on their phone because a lot of people are traveling alone. And I don't know. I see both sides. Like, yes, we are less social. I even saw this over the weekend when I had brunch with my friends. Like, there was probably a good 30 minutes where we were all just on our phone. But I was also there for 6 hours, and out of those 6 hours, there was probably 30 minutes where we were all just sitting on our phone. So, I don't know. It's hard to judge. But here's how pets can help with loneliness during the pandemic. And pets may be the answer to touch deprivation, you guys. This is what Janet Young, PhD, a lecturer in health sciences at the University of South Australia. She says, COVID-19 has thrown touch into the spotlight, revealing how much we need to touch to keep us mentally well. Finding ways to ensure that touch hunger is not sidelined again and that people are not denied safe cross-species touch is one core lesson we should take from 2020. Janet Young led a team of researchers who conducted a study about the benefits of owning pets during the pandemic. Of the 32 participants, more than 90% spoke of touch in relation to their pets, mostly unprompted. Participants said that touching their pets provided them comfort, relaxation, and familiarity. They shared examples of dogs and cats touching them when they felt distressed, sad, or traumatized. Many participants also noted their pets' ability to know when they weren't feeling well and to want to get physically close to them. And some participants mentioned birds, sheep, horses, and even reptiles as pets who reciprocate touch. It's kind of hard for me to see reptiles. I don't know, maybe it's because I don't own a reptile, but we definitely feel this way with our dog Louie. Again, my tia, my mom's oldest sister, passed away on December 8th, and her funeral was last Wednesday. And during that time, my mom has been going through a lot. She's been crying a lot. She hasn't been going to work. And Louis knows, when she's crying and sitting there sad, he comes up to her, gives her kisses, licks her hand. They do know. I'm sorry, they do know. I feel like if you don't feel this way about your pet, you probably own a Chihuahua. Because those dogs, that's a whole nother topic for another day. Let's get back to pets and touch deprivation. Field said Janet Young's sentiment is realistic when you think of the physiological effects of petting an animal. When people are petting a dog or cat, they're applying pressure. You can feel the cat's vertebrae or the ribs of the dog when you stroke them with pressure, and they're getting a pet massage in a sense. The benefits of human massage are applicable for both the pet and human. We have studies that show that the person who's doing the massage gains as much as the person who's receiving the massage in terms of stress hormones like cortisol going down and serotonin, the body's natural neurotransmitter for pain and depression. Studies of massage show that when pressure is applied, physiological responses take effect as pressure receptors show or slow the nervous system. This reduces heart rate and blood pressure. Field said research shows that brain waves associated with relaxation are also affected. And this is absolutely true. This is why I own a weighted blanket. The weighted blanket deals with the same physiological responses. The pressure that is being applied to my body from the blanket is calming my nervous system down, and as a result, my heart rate goes down, my blood pressure, and I'm physically able to relax. And the same goes for when petting a dog. The ironic thing is, here we're in the middle of a viral pandemic, and one of the very things that can reduce the risk of contagion or contracting the virus is the stimulation of pressure receptors. People can get that stimulation from those they live with by giving back rubs, etc., but they can also get that from pets. Applying human findings of touch to animals is possible because there's already documented literature that shows people with pets have better immune function and live longer. I'm sure this is because of the effects of the interaction, which is very physical, such as pets sitting on laps and petting and rubbing pets, which can enhance your immune function and therefore prolong your life, Field said. While this hasn't been measured in dogs and cats, it should be. Janet Young agreed, noting that the benefit of touch with animals is overlooked. If it makes such a massive difference to preterm babies, close to 50% increase in survival rates when cuddles are included in hygiene care, Janet Young said, then it seems clear that caring touch must be somehow important beyond infanthood. How? For how long? When? Where? Why? All questions for further research. Until then, she encourages touch with animals and calls for society to begin making sure people have pet connections and touch access. She hopes pet connections are especially prioritized in hospitals, hospices, and care facilities where people are isolated. Don't have a pet? Here are ways you can still get the benefits of touch. If you're not a fan of pets or allergies keep you from owning one, Field said there are ways to get the same effects of touch. I'm telling everyone who feels they're touch deprived that a lot of the same physiological effects can come from stimulating pressure receptors, Field said. In that sense, walking around the room is going to stimulate pressure receptors in your feet, and brushing your body in the shower will stimulate receptors in your body, she said. Exercises such as crunches, stretching, or yoga can stimulate pressure receptors too. Most exercise is going to stimulate pressure receptors, Field said. So even though you might not be getting the emotional or physiological effects of having someone close by who you love giving you physical affection, at least you can get physical effects from exercise. At the very least, she encourages the elbow bump when greeting others. I've noticed that people are smiling, laughing, and maintaining eye contact when they elbow bump. It's a social interaction, she said. And I think it's going to be hanging around for a while, that elbow bump, right? With all the COVID restrictions, that's one of the safer ways to greet one another. And let's switch on to the loneliest, you guys, age group during COVID restrictions are adults under 24. 2 new studies suggest young adults are experiencing the highest levels of loneliness and suicidal thoughts since pandemic safety restrictions began. This age group often has the smallest social circle to lean on and may be spending much of their time alone. It's important to pay attention to warning signs that your loved one may be experiencing suicidal thoughts and know how to get help when necessary. The COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent restrictions has been hard on everyone, but recent research suggests no age group has been hit harder than young adults. Not only are 20-somethings experiencing the highest rates of loneliness right now, more 18 to 24-year-olds are also thinking about suicide. These findings are obviously unnerving, especially for those who have loved ones who may be affected. That's why mental health experts say understanding what is going on and how to help is so important. Tess Brigham is a licensed psychotherapist and board-certified coach who specializes in working with young adults. She told Healthline that the pandemic has had a disproportionate mental health impact on young people for a few different reasons. Most young people aren't married and don't have children. And while they don't have to wrestle with their kids to pay attention in Zoom call or Zoom school, many of them live alone and live far away from family. She said that while some of her clients have decided to move back in with their parents as they wait out the pandemic, not everyone has good relationships with their parents, leaving many to languish in an apartment on their own. While older adults have their partners and children at home with them, many of my clients relied on their friendships at work as well as outside of work as their primary way to connect with others, she said. Brigham said with physical or social distancing and working from home, Those same clients are now missing out on the day-to-day interactions they used to count on. In addition, many young people were just establishing their lives post-college, Brigham said. Many of them were trying to get their footing at work and build a community of friends when COVID hit. And as a result, these young adults don't have large groups of friends in their areas to make a social bubble with. Instead, they're on their own, locked in their apartments, avoiding people. All of which is a recipe for loneliness. On a larger level, there's a fear they will never get an opportunity to make friends or meet a romantic partner if they can't interact with new people, Brigham said. Many of them feel like they've had to put their lives on hold. Yes, I agree. She said these young adults recognize the importance of physical distancing and not traveling. But that doesn't make canceling big trips or holding off on developmental life goals any easier. And it doesn't. You guys, we're going to cut to a very brief break. And when we come back, more here at the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey guys, welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. We are now entering the final segment of today's show, and we're going to end it off with explaining how loneliness can impair your mental health. Loneliness is the gap between relationships you want and those you have, which causes emotional pain, said Danielle Ramo, a clinical psychologist and senior director of research at Hope Lab. She explained that loneliness is based on the perception a person holds about their social connections, whether they're satisfying or fulfilling. This year, as many of our social connections have moved online and friends and families are not able to connect in the same ways they were prior to the COVID pandemic, young people may interpret this to mean their social connections are not meaningful enough. Instead of feeling like their friends will always be there for them, missing out on school and other key events may be causing some young people to question whether they have true, meaningful friendships. She pointed to new data from an Active Minds survey of 2,086 college students regarding the impact of COVID-19 on their mental health. 80% of the students surveyed reported experiencing loneliness and isolation, putting it among the top 3 most common problems they were dealing with, alongside stress, anxiety, and disappointment sadness. Loneliness is a widespread and was a problem before the pandemic hit, Ramos said. Isolation is only exacerbating its effects. And when people are feeling isolated and lonely, Ramos said they're also more likely to have heightened negative thoughts about themselves, others, and the world. In extreme cases, it can be hard to identify anything positive in one's life, even when we do have a support system and a lot to be grateful for. When that happens, Ramos said symptoms of shock, sadness, guilt, resentfulness, anxiety, and helplessness, and even physical symptoms like nausea, fatigue, or having trouble sleeping can become normal. While our interactions are individual, no one of us is alone in this. But just because it may be normal to experience these feelings in a time like this doesn't make those feelings any less painful, right? And there can be a pressure to feel like we have to bury feelings of overwhelm and loss right now to get through the day. But that is actually more likely to backfire than be helpful, Ramos said. By not acknowledging those feelings, young adults may begin to feel even more isolated and alone, and the evolution from that to suicidal ideation isn't a big leap for some people. Here are some signs someone may be experiencing thoughts of suicide. Brigham said that young adults who have received diagnoses of depression or other severe mental health issues in the past, especially if they were experiencing depression symptoms when COVID hit, may be most vulnerable right now. She added that those who have had a family member die by suicide are at a higher risk for suicidal thoughts as well. That said, Brigham thinks it's important for people to understand that a person doesn't usually consider suicide when they're at the deepest part of their depression. When you're depressed, you have no energy. But once the suicidal person makes a decision to attempt suicide, there will be a spike in their mood. They're happy again because they made this decision and they know the pain they've been feeling is going to end soon, which is really effing sad to say out loud. Like, really sad. Brigham said it's important to pay attention to your loved one's behavior. Are they giving their belongings away or talking about getting things in order? Have you noticed them seeming to stockpile medications or trying to obtain a weapon? All of these can be critical signs that a person needs immediate help. The National Institute of Mental Health has a comprehensive list of signs and symptoms, sharing that some notable signs a person is considering suicide include talking about wanting to die or wanting to kill themselves, talking about feeling empty, hopeless, or having no reason to live, feeling unbearable pain, whether it's emotional or physical pain, using substances like alcohol more often, or, withdrawing from friends and family. For those who are experiencing profound loss associated with changes from COVID-19, counseling and therapy may be necessary, Ramos said. And if someone is in crisis, they should reach out via crisis text line. So here it is, you guys, if you just jot it down just in case, you never know. Text HOME to 741-741 or the National Suicide Prevention Line 1-800-273-8255. So here's how to help a loved one in crisis. If I said those traits and you thought of somebody, listen up. Try and remain calm first and foremost and keep your emotions in check. They need to see you calm and in control. Be thoughtful and direct and ask if they're thinking about harming themselves. Don't beat around the bush. Be willing to ask these hard questions. It won't put the idea in their minds. If your loved one's answer is yes, she said to take the conversation to a step further by asking whether they have pain. Have they decided how they would hurt themselves? Ask what, if anything, they've been doing for their mental health. If they're open to it, talk about ways they can manage their depression and loneliness. If you're worried, even in the slightest, ask your loved one to make a contract with you that they won't hurt themselves before calling you first or the suicide hotline, Brigham said, adding that you shouldn't keep this information to yourself. Get in touch with this person's closest relatives or friends. It might upset your loved one, but that's better than the alternative. Brigham further suggested encouraging your loved one to seek support and helping them find a therapist in their area. Your loved one may even benefit from an inpatient program if one is available. If you think your loved one took something or is in immediate danger, call 911 or the suicide hotline and let them know what's going on, Brigham said. You can ask for a wellness check on a loved one even if they're in another state, which is pretty nice. If you have any concerns at all for yourself or a loved one, again, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255, and it's a great resource for information and tools to help. Suicide hotlines aren't just for people who are planning to harm themselves, Brigham said. You can call one to simply talk to the other person and, about how you're feeling and get some tools to better manage your feelings of isolation. Sometimes you simply just need to talk to someone and tell them how you feel. She went on to say that most therapists are offering Tele-Health Visits now, which means anyone can find a therapist to meet with on a regular basis from the comfort of their own home. Even if you don't have a lot of money, there are therapists who do sliding scales or work in community mental health agencies. If you live in a rural town, go to the nearest big city. There are always therapists, some in training, getting their hours for licensure, who will charge you based on your income. While it's not the same, Brigham also suggested finding ways to create connections online. There are tons of virtual meetups and events happening, and people are getting creative with breakout rooms, having 2 or 3 people to connect at once in separate Zoom rooms. Brigham added that checking out what your employer will cover is also a good idea. Lots of companies have benefits you might not know about. So talk to HR or whomever handles your benefits and find out what's available to you. So, you guys, here's my message from this entire podcast today. Make your mental health a bigger priority during the pandemic. Surviving 2020 means not only protecting our physical health, but also our mental health. Accomplishing both means getting enough sleep, eating well, and abstaining from too much alcohol, Brigham said. She also suggested staying off your phone and social media whenever possible. These are the most important things you can do on a daily basis. Beyond that, Brigham wants to remind young people that it's okay and even normal to feel lonely and isolated right now. Find someone to talk to about it, she said, adding that everyone is struggling and no one expects you to be upbeat all the time. While no one wants to be a Debbie Downer in your group of friends, talk about what this experience has been like and how you're feeling. Just talking about your feelings can be powerful. For those who are now working from home, Brigham suggested creating some boundaries there. Just because you can work all the time doesn't mean you should work all the time. Instead, she said everyone should set a quitting time for each day and stick to it. Leave your evening hours to focus on your mental health, read, watch TV, take walks, or start a new hobby. Most importantly, Brigham encourages people to stay connected with loved ones through whatever means available. Don't hesitate or overthink it. Just pick up the phone and call. Focus on doing your best to live your life right now. And don't put off certain things until the pandemic is over. Your life is happening now. Just be safe and don't take unnecessary risks. This is a great time to reflect and work on things you haven't been able to work on when life was so busy. Remember, this will end and life will slowly get back to normal. But what do you want to take with you as we start to socialize again? Meaning, what have you learned about yourself since you've been home, and how can you be a better version of yourself in this new post-pandemic world? That's something I'm going to leave you guys hanging with and thinking about. You guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode here at the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. I really hope you guys enjoyed this, today's episode, today's topic on mental health and, the winter solstice and everything in between. If you guys did, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff, because that tremendously helps the show. And I'll catch you guys here for the next one.
You've been listening to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, and any app where you listen to podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, we cover it all. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook and listen to these podcasts on YouTube. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.